Hello, hello, my lovely Aries. I hope that y'all are doing well. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina, and I'm going to be doing your general read for the upcoming new moon and solar eclipse on the 10th. I hope that y'all are doing well. Thank you so much for being here with me. I know that I deleted all my videos. I put them on private. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it that way. Just kind of playing it by ear at this point. But yeah, let's see what we have here for my Aries. Solar eclipse, solar eclipse, new moon. I know the energy has been big for a lot of people, I think, in a lot of different ways. It seems like everything that I've read has really just kind of been towards this idea of purging, this like who we've been, who we are, like who we're becoming, all those kinds of ideas. So let's see what we have here for my Aries. You have the ocean again. Y'all had that in, I want to say, your last read. Gnosis, the kiss, the hunter, Kairos, and the starborn. Okay, Aries. I kind of want to start with the ocean again. You guys have been just like really out of balance as of late. Just kind of been that idea of who are you fighting and why. I feel like was kind of like the question of your last read. Having to face the fact that you can be triggered very easily, and oftentimes those triggers lead you to fighting people who aren't even trying to fight you. What was it? You were like triggered by the idea of abandonment. When you yourself had been the one who had abandoned a relationship in a situation, and yet you were like lashing out at this person because you were angry with them for abandoning you, when in all reality you had kind of bailed on the connection, and they just kind of went on with things, and when you came back around, they were kind of like, what do you want from me? Like you're coming at me like I've done something wrong, but like, don't you see that you're the one that can't be trusted in this scenario, and facing that, facing those triggers, and really needing to bring yourself back into balance. And I feel like this is just kind of like that continuation of where you've been, like this need to bring yourself back into balance. And following your intuition. I mean, Gnosis is a card of knowing. I feel like, it's always been like a cycles card for me, is how I've always read it. And I think that it's kind of that idea of like, of not knowing, like there not being a logical explanation. Like I can't logic my way through this one, like there's no guidebook, dictating to me the direction that I need to take. Innermost knowing, mystic truths, contemplating the mystery and unanswerable questions. True knowledge is not found in facts and figures in scholarly books. Rather, Gnosis points to the deep and timeless archetypal wisdom that rises from the felt experience of having touched the unknown with every one of the senses. Yeah. It is. It's that idea of like you don't have an explanation for what it is that's happening. You don't have an explanation for your, I want to say your connection with this person. And I say that because we have the kiss here, and the kiss is this idea of intimacy and, just like a closeness and a connection with another person. And that's been, prevalent in all of your reads in the past. So we're just going to keep with that, like we'll still stick with it, because what is the unseen that's been in a lot of your reads also, and it's that idea of like there's no way for you to really like navigate through this connection, or like into this connection, because what you've had to do is really, I want to say, just like step back and recognize yourself recognize your triggers, recognize your behavior, toward this person and why you felt the need to behave in that manner. And so while you've been, I want to say like backtracking and gaining understanding into yourself, into, like the reasons that you behave in the way that you behave, and, why maybe you react, with like this vehement nature that you react with, that you're, like you're still facing this, like this unseen and this intangible, like connection or concept, and having to really kind of like just follow your intuition in a really big way, because it seems like, Kairos is my creeper card. It's also a card of patience and understanding, and I do feel like, Aries, one of your big lessons through all of this has been, like, okay, if I'm not going to react in that, quick, off the cusp triggered manner, then that means that I have to step back and observe the situation, observe the circumstances. And I kind of get the feeling, Aries, that that's what you've been trying to do, is like step back and act as the observer rather than the the instigator or the reactor. Because when you're instigating and reacting, you don't take other people into consideration, which again has been a really big theme for y'all's reads. And so I think one of your ways of attempting to bring your experiences into balance is to step back and observe, like how is it that my behavior affects other people, namely this person, I want to say in this read, and how is it that I can not have a negative effect or a negative impact, because you have the hunter, and I feel like you all have had the hunter in your reads, on and off for a while. I want to say like even like the past year, like it's been this, you go for it, you have to step back. Like, what was it, the drawing board was in your read, like you were typing up emails or, sending DMs or, like however that played out for you, but like it wasn't ever working, and so you're always having to go back to the drawing board. And I really do want to say that at this point, rather than, just like assuming, because they always say, like, what is assumption? Assumption is making an ass out of you and me, like assumption. It's the spelling, assume. And I feel like that's really been, like a theme, is just like that you assume one thing, and, and you move in that, from that assumption, and every time you just kind of like feel like you're making an ass of yourself, and you're never understanding why, because you never really took the time to like gain any understanding and insight into how this person felt, or how what their experience was in all of this that was going on. You only ever thought about you and your experience and your triggers and your desires and your wants. And so I want to say that rather than do that, you've taken the time to observe, bring into balance and follow this understanding, of not only yourself but also of this other person, so that you're able to sincerely, I want to say, move toward this person. And the starborn is the idea that, like everyone is born, with their own star quality. And Aries, you guys are so, you show initiative in a way that I would say supersedes any other sign, and I think it's because in a lot of ways you don't have those inhibitions. I really do. Like, I know that like the Emperor is the Aries card, but I associate the Fool with Aries in a really big way, because one, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and so it's like the baby sign, and it's kind of like that idea of, like you can't tell a kid, you can tell a kid, don't do this, don't touch the stove or you'll burn your hand. I remember telling my youngest son, like, don't touch the stove, and dude touched the stove anyways, and I'm like, well, like, okay, like, now like, I'm not telling you this to, hurt you. But he needed to figure it out for himself. And Aries, that's like you and your personality and your approach is like, I gotta figure it out for myself. Like, ain't nobody gonna tell me shit, like I need to know. And that, I think, also enables you to not be restricted in your, in your exploration and gaining insight and understanding. Because where other people would hesitate, you don't. You move forward, and and I think that in a big way embodies like this star quality. And I think once you've mastered that, instead of being triggered and reacting and moving in a way that is coming from an unhealthy place, but like you've healed that, or begun the healing process in that, then you're able to more formulaically, I want to say, like, rather than just like bursting up out into everything that you do, you still have that initiative and that drive and that movement, but now it's more calculated and it's more prepared. You're not hesitating. You haven't lost your hesitation. You haven't lost that, but you're able to really move forward in a way that I think is just kind of like evolving you as a person, and possibly helping you to move toward this person, to have a sincere intimacy with them, because you're not just viewing it as you and you alone in this circumstance. Because I feel like, what was it in one of the reads? It was that idea of, like, you can't, if you're a selfish leader, nobody's going to follow you, because you're never going to take anybody else into consideration. And I feel like that's kind of what you're moving away from. Aries, I'm glad to see that. That's very happy. Feliz, feliz. Okay. We had the Queen of Wands pop out, the Ace of Cups, and the Empress so far. I don't know, those all just kind of fell out first. Okay. Oh, ah! Sorry. Okay. We have the Ace of Cups, the Seven of Cups, the Tower, the Queen of Wands, and the Empress. Well, I want to say, Aries, I mean, like, this kind of goes into everything that I was just saying, yeah, about the idea of, like, being a selfish person, or being a person who reacts after triggers, and not taking other people into consideration. And the Seven of Cups is that idea of like, there's nothing here except for overgrowth and abandonment. That ultimately resulted in the ending of a relationship or a connection. Because this person was like, there's nothing like, you're mad at me, but like, you're the one who left all of these cups empty. Like you're the one that kept destroying all of this, and then looking at me like it was somehow my fault, or however that plays out for you, like, you were the one who got ADD and left, and then looked at them like, well, why aren't these cups overflowing when I come back? And they're like, because you left them empty. Like, the fuck you want from me? I mean, I feel like that's really just been like the idea and the theme that's come through all of this. And so when you're going to, start this, reach out to this person, or come forward to this person, they're still very guarded from you. I mean, the idea of the Empress is that she's plentiful, she's got everything that she needs, and yet she's guarded, I mean, body language, right? she's like, what do you want, what's going on here? And I think this is kind of in terms of the hunter, like seeing you come and just kind of like standing her guard. And I feel like you're coming in as the Queen of Wands right now, which is, the wands are fire, and, it's that idea of just kind of like, I want to say, like, calling out and being like, hey, like look at what I have to offer now. almost saying, you know, like I stepped back and I observed the situation. Is what I feel like this conversation is. You know, like I've stepped back, I've observed I've observed like the situation. I've gained understanding into myself that's allowed me to, you know, gain understanding into you, and I'm rising up in my power. Um, and I want to say that, you know, like I'm rising up in your power. You're feeling capable of approaching this person with this offer, you know, that you are about, um, because you're wanting to, you know, you're wanting to establish an intimacy that I think otherwise had never really existed. Aries. Okay, what else can we get here for my Aries? Three of Pentacles, Page of Cups, Six of Wands. Okay, Shadow Dance. Knight of Wands, Seven of Cups, Three of Pentacles, Six of Wands, and Page of Cups. And Aries, you know, I feel like this does, I'm gonna just kind of play back into the storyline even still. You know, the Three of Pentacles is the idea of somebody who's, you know, like at their workshop, you know, like working with their skills and talents. And I feel like that's y'all. You know, like you had to step away, you had to observe, you had to bring things back into balance. You know, like you've had to really work on, you know, not only, you know, like recognizing your triggers, but also overcoming those triggers so that you can be someone who can take like the whole of the scenery into consideration. You know, there's been a lot that you've had to work on. I mean, it's no small thing to recognize triggers. That in and of itself is like a feat, you know, but then to have to take that a step further and say, okay, like now, not only can I not be triggered, but I want to, you know, I want to be the kind of person who can not just act on my behalf, but also act on the behalf of others. And when you're in the habit of acting solely for yourself, you know, I think one of the hardest things in the world to do is to start acting on behalf of other people. You know, if it's not something that comes naturally to you, I mean, I think that there are people who that's natural for. I would say, you know, my Cancers, my Leos, you know, I mean, like those are signs that are like they're always acting on behalf of other people. You know, like Aries, that's not your gift, and that's okay. You know, because like we're not all supposed to have the same gift, and yet if you don't want to be isolated, you do need to be able to be somebody who's capable of acting on behalf of others. You know, not that that has to be your sole, you know, primary focus at all, but like also you need to be capable of recognizing the need for that, if nothing else. And I feel like that's really and truly like what you've been working on. You know, and the Seven of Cups is that idea of like, wow, I want to say like whilst working on these, you know, newly attained knowledge, you've also been just kind of like daydreaming. You know, like I don't think that while you were, I want to say, you know, like stick with the analogy of like going into your workshop and working on everything, you know, while you were there working on everything, you still, you know, like had in mind what it was that you wanted. Because, you know, again, Aries, when y'all have your mindset to something, there is nothing that is going to like deter you from your end goal, you know, like you're like, okay, I had to pit stop for a second, but I still know what I want. You know, and that's kind of what I'm getting with the Seven of Cups here, because he's daydreaming, he's imagining, you know, like what is it that I'm going to be able to create, you know, now that I've been working on all of these skills and practices. you know, like you haven't forgotten what it is that you want, you know, and you haven't, I feel like you're just like, you're like, I'm manifesting this, I'm pulling on all of my magic. And it's kind of like, I get the idea of almost like spell casting, you know. I mean, not to say that you guys are like, are you know, casting spells, but it's that idea of like, um, of needing multiple ingredients, needing multiple tools. You know, like I need to not be triggered. I need to take other people into consideration. I need to be intentional with my actions instead of reactionary with my actions. You know, and it's kind of like a pinch of this and a pinch of that. You know, like, okay, you know, like I can do all of this. You know, I can work towards all of these things so that I can create what it is that I'm, you know, that I'm longing for. You know, and then you have the Knight of Wands and Shadow Dance, and again, it's that idea of, you know, like, of having your sights set on something. I feel like Kairos and Shadow Dance are like, they're like besties in this read. You know, because it's that idea of like watching something and longing for it. You know, like this card is a card of temptation and lust and longing. And Aries, I feel like that's you. You know, like you have this longing and this big truck. I can't plug my microphone into my iPad, so I just have to like talk over everything, but I feel like my voice is not, you know, like at high projection levels right now. But anyways, I mean, the Shadow Dance in Kairos, it's kind of that idea of, you know, longing for something, lusting after it, you know, like you haven't lost sight of what it is that you've wanted all along. You know, in fact, you've daydreamed after it, and now you're ready to like make your move toward it, you know, like in a really big way. Let's see if we can get anything else for my Aries. Drinking some chai tea, it's so good. Okay, we have the High Priestess, the Queen of Swords, and Santa Muerta. Okay. I mean, I really do feel like Aries, you know, the person that you're dealing with is, there's almost an element of like, of judgment being passed, you know, like this idea of, you know, like, I'm not gonna put up with any of your bullshit, you know, like I'm protecting, I've learned how to protect myself from you, I've learned how to spot the lies, and I'm gonna, you know, like, I feel like they're going to, it's almost this idea of like, of, I feel like in a way of like hearing you out, you know, like you're like, okay, but like, look at all the changes that I've made, and look at how I've focused, and I've worked, and I've changed, and I haven't let go of the, you know, the longing and the desire that I have for this connection with you. And I feel like this person is just kind of like pulling on their knowing, you know. I feel like they know you, and I do. I feel like there's kind of been this idea of like them knowing you better than you know yourself, and it's like I want to say they're you know, examining you, they're examining your behavior, they're examining your approach, they're examining your, you know, because there's mistrust that this person experiences, you know, when you come to them. And I feel like they're really, you know, like they're having to pull on their intuition and see, you know, like, is this real? You know, like, has Aries actually put in the work? necessary to bring this back to life. Because Santa Muerta is just that, it's something that's ended, like death and rebirth. And, Aries, you've experienced an ending in this relationship with this person. And I think you've put in all of this work and all of this effort because you're really wanting to, bring this connection back to life. Bring all of it back into balance, so that you can have this newness of intimacy, love, and relationship with this person. Okay. Do one more archetype for my Aries, and we'll call it a read. This is a really calm read, you guys. Like the desert. I'm slightly shocked. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm glad that it's been so calm. The desert, surreal, feeling the Badlands, the drought, the wasteland, the Badlands, surreal, strange, unexpected visions and silence. I really do feel like that's like, this is kind of, if I had to say, like, what was it that was motivating you to actually put in all of this work? What was it that forced you to really just kind of stop and slow down and take the time to pay attention, to gain an understanding outside of like what's right in front of your face so that you're capable of bringing everything back into balance? I would say that this is really like the desert was the catalyst. Like just feeling like this sense of like, how did this happen? Where did everything go wrong? Like I kind of get the feeling that like this idea of like, you never thought that the end would come. You never thought that you could do anything that would really sever this connection or sever this tie, and it happened. And not only did it happen, but when you reacted to it, it was like, instead of being coddled, instead of them saying, oh no, like, I love you, and and I'm so happy you're back, they were like, what the fuck do you want from me? Like, you are the one that ended this. You're the one who brought this out of balance. You're the one who, didn't ever like stop long enough to take me into consideration. Like, why are you mad at me? And I think that it threw you, you were just like, what? Like, what do you mean? This is, like, I did this. And it seemed unreal to you. Because you were busy pointing fingers at them. And when they, just like straight up put you in your place, you had to really, step back, and you were forced to stop. You were forced to recognize, and it's funny because I want to say your last read, you had the ocean, and in the read before that, you had the desert. And I really do feel like, like this card coming out here in the end is kind of like that. What started all of this was that. What started all of this was that, like, that desert, that idea that, like, that it could end, that you could fuck it up, that this person wasn't going to follow you as you, dragged them through anything and everything that you pleased without ever taking them into consideration. And I feel like that was the catalyst for it, and that is what sent you on this, internal journey, to recognize and work on your triggers, how it is that you move, and, and how it is that you can move on behalf of someone other than just yourself, so that you're capable of drawing in and pulling into you, something that you have, set your sights on, and longed for all along. Okay, well, that was a pretty good read, Aries. Not gonna lie. Yay. I hope this resonates with y'all. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I will see you again soon.